Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe Steele. I'm the Senior Director of Communications and Legislative Affairs for LIFT. Welcome to another edition of our Liftoff webinar series. We're very happy today to welcome the Square One Education Network with us. Barb Land and Jason Beatty will talk to you about their work in finding the future workforce. That is a tough issue that the whole manufacturing industry is trying to crack. We at LIFT are working on it as well, and we're glad to have Square One as partners in helping to do just that. A few housekeeping issues before we get started. This session is being recorded, so we will post it on our website for later viewing. If you know folks who were unable to join, or folks who you may think it'd be interesting for to view afterwards, we'll be able to view that on our website. If you do have questions during the presentation, please use the Q&A function that's available there on the Zoom taskbar. Hope everyone is safe and well. I think we're all being getting very familiar and have been very familiar with Zoom. So I think you guys know where the Q&A button is. Hopefully we can get back to doing these, meeting in person in the near future, but hopefully everyone is safe and well. So please use the Q&A function. And if your computer or phone is not on mute, please do so. We'd love to eliminate as much background noise as we can during the presentation, again, because we are recording this for future viewing, and just want to make sure that any distractions are limited. So thank you very much for taking some time to join us again today. I do want to share a little bit about LIFT for those who may not know who we are and what we do. LIFT is one of 16 National Manufacturing Innovation Institutes. We were born in 2014 out of the Department of Defense, and our goal is to drive American manufacturing into the future through technology and talent development. And we're doing that through what we are calling smarter manufacturing, because as we know, so much of the American economy and therefore our economic security and resiliency rests on the manufacturing sector. So with that, obviously, is technology and talent, which we're going to be talking about today. We need to make sure the talent pipeline is robust going forward. And how are we doing that? We're doing that by solving the manufacturing equation. We believe that they're connecting materials, processes, systems, and talent are the way to go. We are viewing manufacturing holistically to make sure that everything is in line and we can be more efficient and more effective with the innovations we are taking forward into the marketplace and into the hands of the warfighter. So we really do that with two programs at LIFT. First is our technology program called Leading Innovations for Tomorrow. And next is the talent program, which is what we're all here today to talk about. The talent side of the house is Learning Innovations for Tomorrow. Put those both together and you have LIFT in Detroit. So a little bit about our technology program, Leading Innovations for Tomorrow, where we are working to connect the materials, processes, and systems, everything from integrated computational materials engineering, really looking at the materials at the microscopic level so we can better predict how they will react to a different process. And then the processing pieces and the materials pieces, including agile and smarter manufacturing, advanced alloy and process development, multi-materials joining. So much going forward relies on those four pillars. As you can see here, there's a lot of work going on, both on the technology, the transportation system, everything we need to join together, everything we need to manufacture really kind of rests on these four pillars at LIFT. On the talent side of the equation, it's all about new tools, pathways, and venues. I know Barb and Jason will talk about that from the Square One's point of view today. But at LIFT, we have really anchored in our Ignite Mastering Manufacturing curriculum that we provide to high school students mostly. And they did that pre-COVID at our LIFT Learning Lab. You see pictured on the screen here in our facility. It is unique in that it is in our facility, looking over the high bay where the innovation work is being done. So the students would come in and take part in this foundational curriculum while being immersed in an advanced National Manufacturing Innovation Institute. Had about 120 students, again, each day going through there, and we look forward to having them back. One thing we are active in during this pandemic time is still our world-class certification programs. We are still offering certification classes and courses in CNC operations and welding. We also have a program called Operation Next, in which we're expanding into industry, but it was born as a transition program to help our military men and women earn certifications for their civilian careers in CNC machining, industrial technology maintenance, welding, and robotics. So we're excited to continue that program. That program is actually expanding through funding from the DoD to 9 additional bases across the country. It is also available to the Michigan National Guard, the Florida National Guard, and their spouses. These certification programs, both LIFT certified and Operation Next, are free of charge of tuition for people. So if you have interest, please reach out to us and let us know, and we'll certainly get you signed up. I did mention that LIFT is a National Manufacturing Innovation Institute. As that, we are a public-private partnership between government, industry, and academia. We are also a nonprofit 501c3 based here in Michigan and a member-based organization. So what do members get out of becoming a member of LIFT? Well, any of these things on the screen, from being a trusted advisor, giving you the best advice we can to help you transition to smarter manufacturing, accelerating technology, showing the art of the possible in our technology showcase of what the smart future of smarter manufacturing is, connecting and convening, which is why we're all here today, talent developer, which we're going to touch on more, and we are a government partner. We want to serve as a conduit to allow folks to work with the federal government more easily. So again, if interest in any of those, experience in any of those, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to talk to you. You can follow us on our social media channels. You can visit us on our website, and you can just give us a call, like in olden times. You can certainly dial us up. So with that, I want to turn the presentation over to Jason and Barb to share with us about Square One. So Jason and Barb, the show is yours.
Great. Well, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. I'm Barb Land. I'm the Executive Director at the Square One Education Network. And I'm pleased to be here with my colleague, Jason Beatty, who's doing a great job here. He's going to be driving our slides today. So the Square One Education Network, I'll have you go back one, Jason. The Square One Education Network is a Michigan-based nonprofit educational organization. We serve K-12 teachers and students with affordable projects and programs around science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM. We were established in 1994, and our roots are in the transportation electronics industry. Here at Square One, we believe that we're addressing the talent shortage and narrowing that skills gap by engaging kids in programs that neatly integrate science, technology, engineering, and math in a purposeful and relevant way, introducing them to career pathways that they may not even know exist. Next slide. So we serve an ethnically and geographically diverse population, concentrating our attention on under-resourced communities, whether they're urban or rural or somewhere in between. Industry's talent needs, we know, are going to exceed that kind of low-hanging fruit, the students that know they want to take on a STEM career. So we need to reach those students that may have never considered that a technical career is within their grasp. And you can see that we have invested over our lifespan in partnership with our industry partners and grants. We've put about $7.5 million into K-12 STEM teachers and students. Next slide. So hands-on, student-driven, project, problem, or place-based learning builds confidence and competence in both students and teachers. Our philosophy is projects don't have just one right answer. A working solution is a solution. Projects are authentic learning experiences. They have to tie to the real world. Meaningful learning is not one size fits all. Even within our own organization, we have a diverse portfolio of projects. We have things that are physically very small, physically very large. We have programs that are very complex, and we have things that are the right size for someone to be introduced into this kind of technical project. Next slide. Through our signature series of innovative vehicle design projects, we have students across the state and beyond that are engaged in real-world challenges like autonomous and connected vehicle technology, lightweighting, electric vehicles, systems integration, and additive manufacturing. They're engaged because they are doing things and making decisions on what direction to take in solving challenges. Next slide. Excuse me. And isn't it more fun to come to school and learn those equations and formulas because they're going to improve your underwater robot's performance, or they'll increase the speed of your RC car. These projects take abstract concepts from classroom lessons and brings them to life through a tangible application. We went to our alumni and said, you know, what did these projects mean to you? So Jason, if you'll go ahead and show that video.
I attended Stevenson High School, and I also graduated from Lawrence Technological University 2 years ago with a mechanical engineering degree. I'm an augmented reality system design engineer. And I was in the mini IVD program, which was absolutely fantastic. When I started working with those things in the project, all of my schoolwork came incredibly easy after that because I could see the project as I was doing it. Teachers would say something, you know, math related or electrically related, and I could already put those two things together and understood immediately how those worked. I was able to take those skills and I was actually able to get a job as a CAD designer when I was in high school and go into college with work experience and apply those things directly after that. I'm Brad, and Square One helped launch my STEM career.
Thank you. Can you go ahead to the next slide, please? Teachers implement these hands-on programs, and they tell us that kids who used to be skipping class and were disinterested or sleeping in class are now in school and they're engaged. And as Brad mentioned in the video, it's improving their performance across all subjects. Next slide, please. To complete the mission challenges, students must articulate their thinking. They have to defend their designs, they have to problem solve and work as a team. They build technical skills, but also valuable interpersonal skills for the workplace. Next slide. Through these programs, we are creating an awareness for post-secondary technical education, college, and well-paying career paths in the mobility and manufacturing industries. This takes partnerships. Our amazing partners fund programs, they sponsor teams, they participate in webinars, they lend expertise and open their doors to offer experiential learning opportunities for the kids we serve. We rely on industry partners to help keep our programs and our content fresh and on the leading edge. We asked our friends at Umlaut to share why they think this partnership is valuable. Joe, can you go ahead and show that video? I don't think we have sound. You might have to go up to the little 3 dots and have it play sound. So we have a few technical difficulties. That's okay. We will have a couple of little short videos again later on, so we'll want to figure that out. But I think it's under options.
How they can solve those challenges and already have ideas before they even enter college, which is really an amazing thing.
Well, there we go. We'll go ahead and go on to the next.
We got involved.
Or we play it again. That's fine. Go ahead. All right. There we are. All right. You know, here at Square One, we don't like to say we're small, we're nimble. And what we've found is that investing in teachers with quality professional development allows us to reach the most students in the most affordable manner. So we don't work directly with students. Our team primarily works directly with teachers. The teachers pictured here built their own high quality, low cost 3D printers at a 3-day workshop with us from a box of parts. Now they're in a better place to repair it if it should break, All technological things do, and with an understanding of how that technology works that they can share with their students. And now they're a part of a network of educators that support each other in best practice, effective classroom application. Next slide. So we work on building confidence and competence in teachers so that cool projects like this underwater robot that these 3 teachers are hanging onto here ends up in students' hands and not up on a shelf gathering dust because they're a little afraid of it. These projects can be the hook that inspire kids to come to school and actively learn and begin that path to a future career in industry. Next slide. We think it's important for those same teachers to experience the productive struggle that their students do when they're introduced to new projects and technologies. As the teacher participants power through that struggle and become successful students, they're empowered and they're excited, and they can take this technology back to school, and they're more willing to introduce these more complex hands-on activities and then let their students drive it forward. Next slide. We offer unique teacher training opportunities like underwater robotics, 3D printing, coding, and physical computing. So not just coding with typing into the computer, but how do we make that translate to the motors turning on a vehicle or ultrasonic sensors, sensing obstacles and so on. So we take the big ideas of things like connected and autonomous vehicle technology, and we shrink it down and present it in a classroom-sized chunk. We always try to provide teachers and kids with leading edge technology and topics. What's authentic? What's happening in the real world right now? Our newest professional development project is in automotive cybersecurity and advanced driver assist systems. And we're fortunate to partner with leaders like Washtenaw Community College, Planet M, and Grimm in developing that content. So thank you for listening to me. I am going to pass it over to my colleague, our program director, Jason Beatty.
Great, thanks, Barb. Joe, you can go ahead to the next slide there. Again, my name is Jason Beatty. I'm the program director for Square One. I've been involved with Square One for over 15 years now. I started my career as a marine engineer working at a shipyard building Navy surface combatants. But after a while, decided that education was where I needed to be. So I went back to school, got my teaching certificate, and started teaching physics in 2005 at a high school in Ferndale. And that's where I got involved with Square One. I had students participating in one of the innovative vehicle design challenges that I'll talk about here in a few minutes. I taught for 7 years, and then I was a high school principal for 6. And throughout that whole time, I remained engaged with Square One, volunteering, helping out at events, and of course, I always had students participating in the programs as well. So I've always been pretty close to Square One and been involved. But just came on board full time in August 2019. But what I really, the reason I have so much passion for this organization and love the work that we do, I've seen this talent development issue that industry is experiencing. I've seen it from both sides as a professional engineer and as an educator. And I think that the work that we're doing is really a good start to a solution towards your talent development needs. Go ahead, Joe. So I want to dig a little bit into our Innovative Vehicle Design series, what we call IVD. There are 5 different challenges in the IVD series, and I'm going to spend just a few minutes talking about each one. But with each of those, certainly, the culminating competition is what everybody sort of works towards, but we try to provide a sort of a holistic wraparound experience throughout the year for students and teachers. So we kick off the projects in the fall. We do workshops with students and teachers. We do monthly technical sessions where we dig into some of the engineering content with teachers so that then they can share that with their students. So as an example, the full-scale innovative vehicle design is based on essentially an electric go-kart platform. And so with those teachers this year, we've spent one of our technical sessions, we dug into energy consumption in vehicles and how do you maximize efficiency in electric vehicles specifically. We did another session with some introductory structural engineering, looking at some elementary beam theory. We did another session where we dug into electric motor selection and how you choose a gear ratio for your car. So really digging into some of this engineering content with the teachers who may or may not have that experience so that then they can start to share it with their kids. We also do mid-season competitions for most of our programs so that it's not just one big competition at the end, but more distributed throughout the year. But then, of course, we do have the big IVD Challenge Day at the end of the year, usually in May. We are super excited. Our great friends at Kettering University host this event every year. Last year, unfortunately, we had to cancel, but we did get the green light just a couple of weeks ago. So we are going to have all of our student engineers on site at Kettering on May 18th and 19th demonstrating their projects. So we are just super thankful and excited for that. Joe, could you go ahead and actually hold on just a second? So this video is one of our promotional videos shot at the 2019 competition. And so it really gives a good flavor of what the competition's all about. Go ahead, Joe.
We are here for the Innovative Vehicle Design Challenge at the beautiful Kettering University GM Mobility Test Track. We already have all of our student teams here setting up for their electric vehicle challenges, their autonomous vehicle challenges.
We've participated in Square One for about 3 years now, and it's just made a huge impact on our lives, teaching us about science and engineering.
We are running our car on an Elegoo microcontroller, which is running on Arduino software. So we used Arduino IDE to program this.
Yeah, Square One's a real critical element in developing STEM skill sets that are going to eventually lead to students stepping into the talent pipeline and satisfying industries.
There's lots of hands-on learning in the class that I think other competitions don't give you, and it's all class-based and student-led, and it's really up to the students' ingenuity and creativity.
I knew a little bit about engineering, but this was definitely the kind of thing that kick-started my yes, I want to be an engineer.
Thanks, Joe. You can go ahead and pop to the next slide. So I want to take just a couple minutes and sort of dig into each of those 5 IVD programs. The first one is the autonomous IVD based on that toddler Jeep platform. And so in short, students start with the base electric toddler Jeep and they turn it into a fully functional autonomous vehicle. So there's a whole series of missions that their vehicles have to accomplish. Things like collision avoidance, parallel parking, platooning. So students work through all of those challenges. There's a little bit of mechanical engineering to do in that there are usually some traction issues with the plastic wheels and tires, but then also obviously steering. Students have to figure out how are they going to control the steering on the vehicle. So some mechanical engineering there, but then really the bulk of this project focuses on figuring out those autonomous vehicle algorithms. So, what information does a vehicle need in order to parallel park, and how is it going to gather that information? So really digging into sensor technologies and then working through the coding so that their vehicle can accomplish the missions. Go ahead, Joe. The full-scale innovative vehicle design is based on the electric go-kart platform. This is the one that I had my students involved in for years, and so it's sort of secretly probably my favorite. It's the one I have the most experience with, but is built on that go-kart platform, and it's super cool because kids get to hop in and drive it around a track. There are 4 different missions. 2 of them are driving missions. So we have a figure-8 track, and then we have a road course. And then there are also a couple of sensor challenges. In terms of the specific challenges that students overcome in this project, obviously safety is more paramount in this than any of the other challenges, as we have students actually driving the vehicles. But beyond that, digging into electrification, looking at energy consumption in vehicles and how do we minimize energy consumption. So looking at rolling resistance and air resistance, looking at energy efficiency, and then what I would call traditional automotive engineering, also digging into suspension, steering, brakes, structures, those kinds of things. Go ahead, Joe. The Mini IVD is based on this high-performance RC car platform. Mini IVD is really all about testing and validation. Students start with the stock vehicle and do some baseline performance testing, and then they start tweaking systems. And so they may try different shock fluids, they might try different tires, they might try changing gear ratios in the drivetrain. And while they do those things, repeat the performance testing, and then report out on how did they go about optimizing their vehicles and what was the best ultimate combination. Obviously, performance driving is also a key element of this challenge, and it makes it a lot of fun for kids. It's probably the most exciting challenge because the cars are moving around the fastest. Go ahead, Joe. The V2X challenge is the newest in the IVD series. And this is based on these small sort of tabletop robot car platforms like you see in the picture. V2X has been, we've been working on V2X for several years, but we really started pushing it this year because of some of the COVID challenges that our schools are facing. The V2X, because it's such a small package and very affordable, lends itself to going home with students so that they can work on it at home. So a lot of our teams have jumped on board the V2X for that reason this year. It's quite similar to the autonomous IVD in that there are vehicle missions, autonomous vehicle missions that they have to accomplish. The big difference here is it doesn't have the mechanical engineering element that the autonomous did. Most teams are probably going to use a stock out of the box vehicle and then just really focus on the algorithms and the coding rather than the mechanical engineering side. Go ahead, Joe. And then there's underwater IVD, and this is really probably the most unique, interesting one. I think there were a couple shots earlier in one of the videos. These are the underwater robots. And this is really what we like to call the gateway to engineering. It's for whatever reason, it's especially attractive to minority students, female students. It has a really low threshold of entry, and it's really easy to get into, and it's really fun. And so this tends to really draw in a lot of people to our programs. So in the underwater IVD, students use PVC tubing and build a frame. They install motors, and then they build a control box with analog controls, toggle switches, wired up to their bilge pump motors, and they build an underwater robot that completes a variety of missions on the bottom of a pool. We do have teacher workshops that go along with this, so we train teachers how to build the underwater robots, and then they share that learning with their students. We also have an annual competition for this program. There's a lot of mechanical engineering and design that goes into it. Obviously, the analog electrical aspect, and some marine engineering. Students are looking at buoyancy and some hydrodynamic issues, especially one of the last part of an underwater IVD competition is the underwater drag race. So really digging into some of those hydrodynamic issues there. Joe, could you go ahead and pop that video on, please?
Here at the Square One Education Network, We've found that the underwater ROV program is one of the most impactful programs that we have. And to date, we have trained hundreds of teachers and have built thousands of ROVs that are now used throughout the state of Michigan and beyond.
Elementary had a really great program that they had come through Square One and they had learned a lot about robotics. I went to an event and I got really excited about it. So I went to Square One and I learned how to do all the things, and we started the middle school program, which this is our second year working with Square One. The kids are getting so much out of this.
Super excited to have Square One come out. It's just all about ROVs, how to construct them, and then more importantly, how we can put them together with our students to give them kind of a hands-on learning experience with STEM, engineering, just all kinds of cool stuff. It kind of makes you feel a little bit like MacGyver as you're putting all this stuff together, so that's kind of slick.
The underwater ROV program is affordable, it's sustainable, and it can really just grow and expand as a teacher sees fit within their school. The students are really driving us forward as we develop an intermediate level, an advanced level, and they're taking the ROVs to places that even we never dreamed of.
Square One is definitely on the right track to learn by actually doing something. A project like this underwater vehicle competition, they actually have to put the robot together. They have to build it. They have to test it, validate it, and then they have to make adjustments when things go wrong, the typical things that engineers do.
The kids take their design and their ideas of what they want to do with an ROV, and they put it together and put it together and put it together, and as soon as we give it power and the motors start turning, it empowers the students so much.
We're trying to make it lower and we're trying to have less weight, and that's basically what we're doing. Basically, we're engineering.
We decided to do a call, which is a lot different, and we had to change control switches for it.
I think it's great. This is a great program. Need more of them. We need more of them. It's problem solving.
All right, thanks, Joe. Go ahead. So for each of these competitions, certainly the performance element is important, and it's, it's the fun part. But along with that, we try to provide a holistic experience to students. So there's a whole series of judged awards. Each student team creates a presentation video where they talk about the engineering and the innovation that went into their project. They talk about their ambassadorship program. That's a pretty unique element where each team has to reach out to 100 younger students and share their project with those students and provide a STEM learning experience for the younger students. So we provide all these judged awards that really provide a wraparound holistic experience for kids. Along with that, because of our unique position with industry partners and school partners, we can provide a link from business to teachers and students. And so when one of our industry partners is looking to have a student presence at an event, they often reach out to us and we bring one of our student teams to those events. And those are great experiences for kids. Go ahead, Joe. And so when we talk about project-based learning and authentic learning and where the value is, I sometimes when I'm talking to groups of professionals, we do a little thought experiment, and really we're not going to take the time to do it here in this webinar format, but when you think back about what you remember from high school in terms of educational activities that you did, if you think about those things that you remember, almost without fail, they were project-based learning experiences. And you remember what you did, and you remember what the challenges were, and you remember how you overcame it. It's because project-based learning is that impactful. That's why it's so important that we do what we do. The other thing is, if you think about how you work, the educational system where students go to a classroom and they learn math for an hour, and then they put that away and they go to a different classroom and learn English for an hour. That's not the way that we work in industry. You, as a professional, you bring together all your skills at the same time and use them all at once in an integrated way to solve a problem. And that's what these projects do. They give students the opportunity to function in a real world, authentic capacity, doing a project, solving problems. So project-based learning, it's engaged learning, it's learning as needed, it's immersive. Our kids, certainly they learn some engineering concepts, but more importantly, they learn how exciting engineering is and what engineering is. Along with that, the soft skills, the career awareness, we're really working on building that talent pipeline to supply your future workforce. And I think with that, that's the end of my time. I'm going to turn it back over to Barb.
Thank you. Sorry, I had to find my unmute button there. You can go ahead to that slide. So, you know, we could not do what we do without the support of the colleges, the universities, the companies that link arms with us. Whether they support us in, you know, some financial way, whether they lend their expertise and advice to the teams, or their expertise and advice to us. That's all very valuable. You know, an organization like Umlaut, they decided we want it all. And so they are a financial partner. They lend their expertise. They come out to our event and help judge events. They help us to make sure that, you know, we're still on trend with what's happening in industry. And those are all really, really important things to do. And when there's not a pandemic, they open their doors and we bring students out on tours. And of course, the same thing with many, many of our other partners. So we are indebted to that. And we're always looking for new friends who would like to come on board and be a part of the Square One Education Network. You can go ahead to the next slide. So we encourage you to see if Square One's programming can be integrated into your local schools to increase student engagement and success. If you're an industry, government, college, or a university setting, or as an individual, we encourage you to share today's story and to invest in some way in the under-resourced students that we serve. We know what the trends are for your talent needs in industry, and we have to invest today so that we'll be ready. You know, it's a slow boil when you invest in a 10-year-old or 12-year-old or a 16-year-old until you're going to see that turnaround in your workplace. But if you don't make that investment, you can guarantee you know where you're going to be in 4, 6, or 8 years. They're not going to be there. So these kinds of programs are very important. Next slide. And so with that, we thank you for letting us be here today. And we truly believe that together we can grow an innovative and talented technical workforce that's going to provide a brighter, safer, better future for all of us. So again, thank you for attending today. It looks like we have a few minutes, we're happy to take your questions. Joe?
Yeah, thank you. Get all of our speakers back up on the screen there. Thank you very much for the presentation, insight into the Square One Innovation Education Network. I think the folks can see why Lyft is a partner with you guys now with all the innovative and fun stuff that you guys have going on. So we did have a number of questions that came in. Again, if you do have questions, please submit them via the Q&A button that we have on the Zoom toolbar. But we'll start with Barb. I saw on the slide that you had all your partners on, the industry and educational partners. I saw there was Florida representatives represented there. Southwest Research Institute was referenced there. So a lot of your examples came from Michigan. So you're not just Michigan centric, are you? Can you talk a little bit more about your geography?
I would love to. Yes. So while we are Michigan based and all of our programming has been Michigan born, it came grassroots. Michigan teachers really helped us to build the programming that we have. We are very open to expansion. We had the opportunity to partner with an organization called the Intelligent Transportation Society of America. And through them, we took one of our programs, the Autonomous IVD program, and we did take that nationally, and they actually helped to identify, they're a member organization, they helped to identify sponsors. And so we do have schools working with us in California, Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania, Indiana. So definitely we feel like we've spent a number of years really working and refining our programs so that they are shovel ready. They're ready to pick up and take on to another district or community or state that might be interested in being a part of that. So we were very grateful to Carnegie Mellon is one, ITS Florida, ITS California. There were a host of new partners that came in as a part of that project.
That's great. And we are obviously Lyft is based in Detroit, as you can see our facility behind us, but we're a national innovation institute as well. So we have similar, making outreach across the country while our home base is here. Jason, question for you. And as a dad of a high school student, I think this relates. What do you tell students who say that they are terrible at math and engineering and don't view that as a possible path? How do you, and they don't think they're a good fit with this program? How do you, show them or convince them otherwise?
Sure. I love that question because it lets me, it sort of segues into one of my favorite stories. But I think first, I mentioned with the ROVs, how they're sort of a gateway to engineering. The programs are accessible enough that students can come in with little experience and they can find success, right? So it helps them build that confidence. But with math specifically, I used to run my IVD when I was teaching, and I had kids doing the full scale IVD, the electric go-kart. I used to do that as a class. I was blessed with a very progressive school administrator who gave me a lot of freedom. And so I developed a class around full-scale IVD. And it was a mixed grade class. So I had everywhere from 10th grade to 12th grade students. So obviously their math abilities were all over the place. And we were working on some of that engineering work with the energy consumption, looking at aerodynamics and rolling resistance. And so we could calculate our power, but to get energy, we needed to integrate our power. And so now we're talking calculus. Well, I've got 10th through 12th graders and none of them have had calculus. So let's teach them some calculus. That's what we did, right? It was amazing because they had a reason to learn it. It was no problem at all, right? We taught some calculus. We did calculus. We integrated power. We got our energy. It was all fine. And they didn't even realize what I was doing to them, right? I like to say that when you use a project and you get students hooked and engaged, you can sneak in whatever content you want and they don't even know it because they're so excited. They see the application, they see the reason to learn it. It's no problem at all. So that's what these programs do to impact kids.
That's awesome. They're doing it without even realizing they're doing it. In the end, they realize that they did it, right?
That's right.
So that's awesome. So the next question, I combine a couple here. I think you both can answer that, and you kind of touched on this just now, Jason. We can start with Barb. Is how do you measure success with these projects and programs? I mean, just how do we, at the end of it, how do we know what the students have learned and that they've been successful in achieving whatever goal they were set out to achieve when they began?
Well, one of the beautiful things are these student presentations, right? The students have a number of requirements set out before them that they're aware of at the beginning. You're going to keep an engineering journal. You're going to conduct this ambassadorship where you're going to share your learning with younger students. And that ambassadorship, just a quick side note on that ambassadorship is supply chain. That's investment in, you get younger kids excited so that they know, if I take Mrs. Jones's physics class when I get to high school, I get to build a car, right? So that's that investment in the future. But truly, as we said, a working solution, that's success. So we do provide this whole event. They do video presentations, and we're asking them, what change has there been in you from that beginning? What is your depth of understanding or your interest level to where you are now? And the innovation piece, we have both objective and subjective things that we are scoring. The innovation piece is one of the most exciting things, though. When those trailers come rolling in to Kettering University on competition day, and they lower that back door, who knows what's going to come out? And everybody is looking and say, what'd they do? Well, what'd they do? And that's the idea. It's, right. It's an innovation around, what makes your car different than everyone else's? And that's, I think, that big show of success. Did you make it through to the end? But I'll turn it over to the teacher to say if he'd like to share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, as a teacher, right, we're so used to, pass, fail, letter grades, grade point averages, there's a set, but innovation can happen, with multiple ways, multiple answers. And you can talk to any of our engineers, I think, at Lyft and understand that, yeah, it doesn't always work, the first time, but you learn going forward. So Jason, how does that work for you as an educator?
Yeah, I would just sort of piggyback on what you said. And I think, for me as a former engineer, and I think most of the engineers on here would probably agree with me that, that kid that does get straight A's and is the quote unquote smartest kid in your class, oftentimes isn't your best engineer. Sometimes he's not the kid you want. You might want the kid who's working on weekends, building a hot rod with his dad at home in the garage, right? He might be your much better engineer. The trick is convincing that kid that he can do the math and science that's required, right? He's already got the mechanical aptitude. Now you need to bring him along on the math and science. Well, that's what these projects do, right? But in terms of success, yeah, it's, the best stories of success are the anecdotes, right? It's talking to the students, it's talking to the teachers, it's talking to, the alumni. I encourage you, if you have a minute, go to our website and look at the video page. We have several different testimonials there from alumni, from other industry partners. Hearing those stories, that's where you really get an understanding of the power of these programs.
Yeah, that's great. So now as we're talking, we have both industry members and education members, as you know. So we probably have a mix of both online here today and folks watching. So Barb, I'll let you talk to the industry piece, and Jason, let's talk to the school piece. But how do we get involved? If I'm a industry member, Barb, and then Jason, I'll follow up with you. If I'm a teacher or a school, how do I get involved? And what does the cost look like, or how's the whole process look?
Sure. I think one of the greatest things about an organization like ours is that, you can be a big fish in our pond. There's no minimum entry level like there might be in getting engaged in another nonprofit organization. It starts with a phone call or an email. whatever you prefer, but to reach out and we'll just talk about what are you looking for, what does your industry need, what are your workforce needs, or interests. If one of these projects here today really resonated with you and you'd like to learn more about how can I help grow that project, we'll have that conversation. But that's something that we actually really we excel at, is matching what a company is interested in with some sort of partnership. And so, as I say, it could be that maybe somebody would just like to write a check and donate to something. That's cool. If someone wants to get involved and work with kids, that's great. Or if it's a little column A, a little column B, we are most definitely open to creating some kind of relationship that's good for you.
Awesome. Jason, how about the school or teacher perspective on engagement here?
Yeah, I would just reiterate what Barb said. One thing that we hear over and over again from our teachers that we really pride ourselves on is our personalized service, both to our industry partners and to our teachers, and they value that. Barb's favorite saying is, once you're in the family, you're in the family, right? And it really is a family. And so how do you get started? Let's talk, give us a call and we'll get you going. We'll find out, what program might be best suited for you. And we can help connect schools with industry partners. There are some grant opportunities. Let's talk and we'll get you started.
Yeah, it sounds familiar. And someone asked how Square One and Lyft are related. I'll say it was phone calls, right? And you guys are a member of our organization now, and we are happy to have you and happy to be able to present these. So we have a few minutes left. I'll ask one more question for you, and it is I'm not sure who can best answer this. Maybe Jason. Is from the students' perspective. How are they thinking about the engineering process that they're going through? Are they thinking is it creative for them? Do they think that they're addressing large world problems? Are they focused on the science and math aspect of it, or is it some combination of all three of those things?
Sorry, couldn't find my mute button there. Yeah, I think the short answer is it's a combination of all three of those things and more. I think one of the great things about our programs is how flexible they are. They're flexible for a variety of teaching styles and a variety of content areas. And so when you look at one of our programs, again, I'll go back to the full scale. It's just one example, but in that competition, we have physics teachers who are working with their physics students, really focusing on the math and the science and doing calculations, competing in the same competition against students from a career technical center who are taking classes in welding and machining and whatnot. And they're all, they all have different skills and they bring different elements to the party, but we put them all together in the same competition. And it's just fantastic to see what they all come up with, right? So what does each kid get out of it? It depends on the kid, it depends on the teachers. But they're getting what they need out of it for sure.
Well, that's great. So I encourage everyone to reach out to Barb and to Jason. Their contact information is on the screen. I want to thank you for your presentation today. Awesome stuff. We're glad to have you, here as a Lyft member. And again, I want to invite folks to reach out to Lyft with any additional questions. Saw someone asked how to become a Lyft member. Always happy to talk about that. So you can reach out to us directly via the contact information on the screen there. Again, just like Barb said, give us a phone call. We will start that conversation, and we're happy to have you. So thank you again to Barb and Jason. Thank you to everyone for participating today and joining us. We do have another Liftoff webinar next week on Thursday at noon from Detroit Engineered Products. So stay tuned to your emails for that, and hopefully you can register for that one, and then stay engaged with us as we continue these going forward. So everyone, thank you so much, and thank you, Barb, and stay safe out there, everybody.
You too.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye-bye.